Unfortunately, the scope is not very great in India as of now. When we started off, it was a little, it was way lower than what it is right now. So that's a good improvement. But it still hasn't reached that level because the thing is that these fields are a little underestimated in our country. The scope for microbiology is very slim over here, but when we explore abroad has a great and a very high scope. And like for example in Europe, the need for microbiologists is higher than any other place in the world currently. So that's how it is. Abroad there's a lot of scope in microbiology, biotechnology, environmental science, but because these fields are very underestimated in India, that's the reason the scope is very less here. Another drawback of the research area is that after you finish PhD, the scope of additional research, postdoc research is very slim. So when people can finish the PhD also, they ultimately end up into companies like us. Like we have so many PhD, and that is because they don't have opportunities further. So in India, this is something which is extremely I mean, it's always been there, but in abroad, it's not the case. So abroad, people have another important factor is even the finance actually. So people have the provision to carry out their own research, to start their own thing, but in India, this is missing. So this is again another important factor which contributes to the lower exploration of these fields.
You mentioned that you have a lot of people who have completed their PhDs and yet they are working in your firm.
Yes.
Is that a reason or one of the reasons why you haven't pursued your PhD yet?
Yes, to be very honest, yes. So I always thought that, doing a PhD and doing research, because I love studying. So I thought that that is one thing that will always keep me connected to my books and studying. And another thing, I would learn a lot. But when I started when I opened my eyes and I saw what's happening in the world around, I actually thought that it's just a fairy tale, and that's not how it works. Because as I told you, I wanted to pursue my PhD in lifestyle diseases, but again, to get the belief in that subject by the audience is something which is still being tried, that is one thing. So the funding to carry out the research, all the parameters, the place even to conduct the research is something which is very difficult to obtain. And even when we finish the research, who is going to put in their investment, or who is going to give you a hand to grow a little more with the research that you've conducted? You don't know, and the chances of getting that person or getting that amount of investment or everything is very less over here. So you need to have a very strong financial background if you want to pursue something like this over here. You need to have a very strong network, because as I said, even in PhD, women getting into it is very difficult because you need to have strong contacts. The other way that you can only get into PhD is the caste. If you have the caste, you may get into it. But further to that, if you want to pursue a little more into it, you need to have very strong networks, because without networks, you can never go ahead. So that's the...
So to get around this problem, how viable is going abroad? And is that something that is easy? Is that something that you've considered? Is that something that is open to people who have or want to pursue their PhDs?
Yeah, so the thing is that because I'm over here, I can give you a better picture of what I've seen over here. Abroad looks bright and shiny, but I don't know what are the drawbacks. See, this networking thing I told you, it's applicable worldwide. So you need to have a good network. You need to be in the good books of your mentor, because without that, they are not going to take you ahead. And a mentor is someone who is in a position who can actually decide whether you go ahead in the research or they can send you back to where you've come from. So that is something which is very that is considered worldwide, that I can say. Abroad, PhD scope of education is higher as compared to over here. And another thing that you need to have very strong is your finance in place. If you have a strong financial background, you can go abroad. Of course, there's scholarships. Again, for scholarships, you need to have a sharp mind and you need to have the intelligence. Good thing that abroad universities offer is a full-time scholarship. So people, the last I read was anybody getting above 60% is also eligible for a 75% scholarship abroad, that would be 75% of the tuition fees, which is quite a lot as compared to what India can provide. So these things are something which is very flexible when it comes to studying abroad, and Europe currently is booming with the need of microbiologists. So anybody who would be interested can surely apply in these universities, Europe, Sweden, and all these places who are very open in taking students for PhD, and they do provide full scholarship.